A huge storm is coming to the United States today and tomorrow, and this is going to bring the threat for severe weather, including damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes across parts of the central and northern plains, the Midwest, and then eventually the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this severe weather event and why it's going to be rather significant, especially today. We're going to begin with what's happening across the United States this morning, which right now it is very dry across the entire eastern tier of the United States. Midwest, Ohio Valley, Northeast, absolutely enjoying the weather right now. At least there is no severe weather currently in those areas. It's pretty nice overall. But one thing that we are going to be watching for today is back up here in the northern plains, and as well as even back through the central plains, where we do have a low pressure system just off to the northwest of Colorado. This is going to be what brings the threat for severe weather today, and it's going to be a rather significant day, I think, when it comes to wind and hail, especially across parts of Minnesota, South Dakota, northern Iowa, and then eventually Wisconsin. And then that severe weather threat will eventually shift into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we are going to be talking more about, I think, the Northeast and as well as parts of the Ohio Valley for at least some low-end threat for severe weather. And then another storm will come in later this week with another risk for severe weather in the same exact areas. So it's going to be a pretty active weather pattern for the next several days, with definitely plenty of chances for some severe weather. Now let's talk more about the severe weather potential over the next couple of days, and we'll begin with today, which notice we have a 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather anywhere from northern Nebraska and South Dakota back into Minnesota and also into western Wisconsin, which this has grown since yesterday. It now includes more of Wisconsin. In addition to that, we have a slight risk that goes all the way back into Wyoming and Nebraska, even goes into Michigan, where the main concern overall for today in this entire area will be significant damaging winds that could exceed 80 miles per hour at times. In addition to that, we could see large to very large hail that could also exceed the size of a baseball, and then also the potential for a few tornadoes. We also have a marginal and slight risk for severe weather in New England. That'll be mostly for wind and hail. We're not really going to talk too much about that risk, as I think it'll be a pretty low risk overall for today. The wind risk for today is hatched. This does mean that we could see damaging winds between 70 to 90 miles per hour in this area anytime really from about 2 o'clock this afternoon all the way up until 10 to 11 o'clock tonight. And that could even go a little bit beyond that, especially if you're back over in Wisconsin and Michigan, where damaging winds will be a possibility late into this evening. So definitely make sure that you're protecting any loose light items today, as if we do get some sort of damaging wind event in your area, it is going to definitely be damaging. Here's what we're looking at for the hail risk for today. Notice this hatched area is where we're watching for the greatest chance for hail that exceeds 2 inches in diameter, so make sure that you're protecting your vehicle. That threat is going to be the greatest out of those initial supercells this afternoon in South Dakota and southwestern Minnesota. And then the tornado risk for today has shifted a bit further to the north, and it's also a larger 5% tornado risk in southwest Minnesota and southeastern and eastern South Dakota. So the thinking basically is today is that we'll probably be live for this, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live. There's also a lower tornado risk that does extend anywhere from northern Nebraska into western Wisconsin, where again the potential for a few tornadoes will exist. And as we go into tossing trampolines on Tacos Tuesday, we do have a slight risk for severe weather, including Wisconsin, Illinois, back into Michigan, and also right along Lake Erie. And then we also have a marginal threat that goes back towards the central plains. I do think there is a chance that this slight risk could extend more into Illinois, but we'll have to wait and see. As of right now, the risk is pretty broad, as we don't really know exactly what's going to happen yet on Tuesday for multiple reasons, but we'll talk more about those here in just a few minutes. Overall, the main concern for this event will be damaging winds and hail. There is going to be a tornado risk, and that's mainly going to be with the storms that on-go during the morning hours into the early afternoon, and then if a second round of storms develops, that tornado risk could also be realized. So something to watch for, but overall a pretty low tornado risk for tomorrow. So a live stream basically appears a lot less likely tomorrow compared to today. So just something to keep in mind. I don't think we'll be live tomorrow unless something changes, especially if something changes for like Illinois, for example. I do want to show you the significant tornado parameter values for today, because this will give you an idea of where the greatest threat for tornadoes is across at least the northern plains and even the Midwest. So this is what we're looking at around lunchtime today. I'm not really expecting any sort of tornado threat to materialize until the mid to late afternoon. So these values kind of irrelevant around lunchtime, but by the time we get closer to 3 to 4 o'clock, we're going to be watching this area in South Dakota for that initial potential for a tornado or two if storms can remain discreet. That's going to be the big thing for today. If storms can be and are discrete, well, I think we are definitely going to see at least one tornado. By the time we get closer to 5 o'clock, those values are really the highest right around 4 to 5 o'clock this afternoon. That's predominantly in eastern and southeastern South Dakota and really far southwestern Minnesota, where those red colors are indicating the highest chance there for a tornado potential. Even by 6 o'clock, that value is really still up there, especially in southwest Minnesota. And overall, I think this tornado risk will stay apparent and probably until about 8 o'clock tonight. But I think by the time we get closer to 7 to 8 o'clock, this is going to be a line of thunderstorms rather than individual supercells. So this will be more of a wind threat with maybe a couple of embedded tornadoes as this moves towards like Minneapolis, for example. And then by the time we get closer to 10 to 11 o'clock, there will be a very low tornado risk in western Wisconsin, but it is near zero. So not super concerned there, but we'll keep a close eye on it. Definitely be prepared for damaging winds if you are in Wisconsin. Here's what the timing looks like for today on the latest HRRR model run. Storms will start to fire off right around 2 o'clock in South Dakota, even a few storms back over in Minnesota. These are going to quickly turn into pretty clustered areas of thunderstorms, I think. So overall, it's going to be, again, pretty clustered. This should be mostly wind and very large hail. That's the main two concerns. But if any storms can be discrete, I think the tornado risk is definitely higher. Now, the HRRR model on this run shows more of a complex of thunderstorms, which would promote more of a wind and hail threat. But again, if we get anything discrete, I think the tornado risk will go crazy with any storms like that. Like this one, for example, not really in the best position, but if a storm is discrete like this, there's definitely a better shot at a tornado. By the time we get closer to 7 to 8 o'clock, this is going to turn into more of a Boeing segment across Minnesota. This will definitely be an elevated damaging wind threat for Minneapolis, so please make sure you're protecting trampolines, protecting loose line items. Please make sure that you are taking those precautions now rather than later, and also protect vehicles, because large to very large hail will definitely be an elevated threat. And then by this evening, those storms continue to move into Wisconsin, mainly a wind threat for Wisconsin, maybe an isolated tornado, and then another complex of storms will fire off behind that back over in South Dakota and Nebraska. This will not be as impressive though as this first round of storms. This will be more of just an isolated wind and hail threat. I don't expect really a tornado risk to come out of that. And then by the time we go into Tuesday, things are drying out. Our next chance for severe weather will probably be Wednesday or Thursday. Here's what the tornado parameter values look like in the Midwest. Overall, again, the main corridor today is going to be in southwest Minnesota and eastern South Dakota, maybe even leaking into northwest Iowa. Tomorrow does not look super concerning right now when it comes to a tornado risk, but I would not rule out an isolated brief tornado somewhere in Wisconsin, maybe Illinois, perhaps even Michigan. But tomorrow is very uncertain because there are a lot of scenarios that could go down for Tuesday. We're going to try to show you what those scenarios basically entail. So this is what we're looking at for the timing tonight. Again, line of storms moves into Wisconsin. It'll die out as it gets towards the upper Michigan Peninsula. This could continue into the morning hours in Michigan and perhaps even re-strengthen into a new line of thunderstorms. If that does happen, damaging winds is the main concern tomorrow morning across parts of eastern Wisconsin and eventually into Michigan. This should die out at some point by the afternoon hour, so I don't think this is going to last forever, but mostly just a wind threat out of that. Initiation in the afternoon is very questionable, mainly because there are going to be storms in the morning. If that can stabilize the atmosphere enough, we might not see really anything redevelop in the afternoon. Now, the HRRR model goes a little bit haywire and has multiple storms developing up and down anywhere from southern Wisconsin back into even near St. Louis as we go into the late afternoon and early evening. Now, overall, the good news is that I don't think the tornado risk is going to be that crazy, but I do think hail and wind are definitely going to be possibilities out of whatever develops Tuesday. So if needed, we will go live for this. We're going to have to kind of wait and see what the model data shows over the next 24 hours. And if we are live today, which I think we will be, we will have an update on this probably in the live stream. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and also make sure to click the bell icon down below so you're notified if and when we do go live and with our next video forecast. This is also the RRFS model, which is a little bit of a different model. This is a prototype model, but I just kind of want to show you another scenario. This one shows nothing really firing up at all. The only storms it has firing up in the afternoon are actually in Michigan, and even then it does not look like anything crazy. It just looks like a hail and wind event, and then maybe some storms near, like, you know, the upper Michigan Peninsula. So again, a couple scenarios that could go down for tomorrow, but again, we'll kind of keep you posted with the latest if anything does change. Here's what we're looking at beyond today and tomorrow. So as we go into Wednesday, severe weather, a lower chance across the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, but we'll keep a close eye if anything tries to develop. I don't think anything will really get going. If anything gets going, it should be pretty sporadic. By the time we go into Thursday, I think our next shot for legit severe weather will be Thursday across the Midwest and back through the Central Plains, where mostly a wind and hail threat will exist, but we could also see an isolated tornado or two. By Friday, those storms are moving into the Ohio Valley, back even into the southern plains, where there will be another chance for severe weather. It's going to be primarily, though, in this area here for Friday. And then by the time we go into Saturday, there might be a few more severe storms left over in the northeast or even back near the mid-Atlantic. But again, not looking too concerning as of right now. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.